When I did our wizard initiation ceremony on New Year's of 2023, Max is speaking right now. I was at a point in my life where I had been doing magic off and on for some time, a few years, probably since 19, but had not been taking it seriously until my 22nd year. And when I did that wizard initiation ceremony, it was a few months after being disowned, because I was disowned on September 16th, 2022. And as a response, I recognized that, okay, it's time. It's time to really start taking my craft seriously and to delve very hardcore into this. And when I did that ceremony, I declared myself a chaos mage and also a theistic Satanist at that time. And it was honestly kind of ironic because the ceremony I was using was from Anton LaVey's rituals, the Satanic Rituals, which is atheistic or non-theistic Satanism. But ironically enough, atheistic or non-theistic Satanism is what got me, or like kind of exploring that, because I was already a magically inclined individual, was sort of what led me to theistic Satanism. And at that time, it was a way of regaining control over my life. It was a way of empowering myself. It was a way of saying, I'm done being abused and manipulated and used over and over and over again by so many different people. I'm taking power back for myself, and I'm learning to control my own life now. And that's why I did it then. It's like, it's time. Now is time. I've been disowned. I've severed ties. I'm losing connection to everything that bound me to my past. Now is the time for me to do this ceremony. And for the past year, I have been on the left-hand path. For the past year, I have very, very hardcore been on the left-hand path. And the things that have happened in my life, namely, are I've lost a lot of friends. I've lost four formerly best friends this year, all of which were people who needed to be let go of, even though it was painful. All of which were people I needed to no longer have in my life, who were directly hurting us in a lot of different ways. Another thing that happened is I learned to take care of myself in ways I had never known how to before. I got on disability support, which was really helpful, as I am developmentally and mentally disabled. And it's been hard. It's been really hard, but really good. And everything that has happened has felt like, frankly, it's felt like everything before I did that ceremony and before I was a wizard, was like openly calling myself a wizard. Before then, it feels like everything was just sort of this really long, awful, painful, hellish, truly nightmarish, just sort of stretch of pain. It feels like everything from before 20, and frankly, even really before 22, was mostly, if I had to describe what my life has predominantly felt like, it's felt fearful, shameful, afraid, painful, hard, just fucking hard, like really hard. And I never really understood why until the first crack. And the first crack in the illusion that was keeping me bound in the shadow of those who were raising me and was keeping me bound to that painful existence. The first crack was being diagnosed with autism. The first crack was meeting a djinn, because meeting a djinn and summoning one with someone who used to be more prevalent in my life. Summoning a djinn was the first spirit I'd ever spoken to, ever. And that experience shattered my former view of atheism. It literally, like, everything I believed was real, everything I held as true, I was I was like a hardcore anti-theist. Like that kind of atheism is what I was raised under. And I, at this time, believe that is incredibly destructive, and that anti-theism is just the atheist equivalent of extremist theism, and that both actually lead to the same thing, which is hurting other people. But at that time, I felt differently, and meeting a jinn was an experience that completely shattered like everything I believed. It was like essentially just like, okay, like what the fuck is reality? Like what even is real? Essentially, because it's like if that's real, then what the fuck have I been living in? You know, like what the hell is this? You know, because it's like it felt that way for me, and then I realized that reality is just a story we believe in. That's kind of what I believe anyway. And we can change it. We can change that story. We don't have to live in a never ending nightmare how I used to because of the people I was raised by. And so when I became a wizard on the left-hand path and a theistic Satanist, the next steps were learning about like Jewish Kabbalah. Has heavily influenced my craft, but specifically the idea of the Tree of Life and the Sephirot, and also the Klipot or the Klipoth. I can't pronounce it. I've only seen it written, but the Sephirot and the Klipot. I think that's right. And that the idea of those things like set my fucking mind on fire. Like it literally ignited my imagination to the point where when I was like learning about all that stuff, I got so into it where it was like I felt like I was personally exploring simultaneously the Sephirot and the Klipot, and I felt like I was being led through everything that had made my past my own personal fucking hell. Like, and I mean that. I mean that I lived in hell before I was diagnosed with autism and before being a wizard. I truly believe what I was experiencing was a man-made hell that due to just unfortunately being dealt a bad random hand. It was random chance. I don't believe there's any rhyme or reason to why my life was so fucking awful. It's just that that was my setting. That's what I was born in. That's where I came from. That was my nature, right? That's what I started with. And I felt like exploring, like through the help of my alters, who I do see as spirits, who talk to me as spirits, for me, or if you prefer psychological construct, anthropomorphized idea that can speak to you, whatever the fuck you want to call it, I started interacting with a lot of spirits, and the spirits I was interacting with, one in particular, who was a form of death, was helping me through my personal hell, is really what it felt like. It was like they were helping me, like holding my hand, giving me the tools I needed, but not telling me how to, not showing me how to, not directing me. More, it just felt like they were holding my hand and watching me leave my hell behind, or like become stronger than it. And I've reached a point now where everything that bound me to my past no longer binds me to it. Where everything that made my life a fucking nightmare is no longer in my life. But it's also been really confusing, because the goal with being a magician for us was to heal ourselves, was to heal through facing the shadow, through the left-hand path, through exploring taboos, exploring the darkness in me and in the world, and accepting it and revering it, and learning to find the light in the darkness, but also learning to respect the balance between the darkness. And it felt like I was slowly healing myself through like a form of exposure therapy, is like what they call it in like therapy or psychology or whatever. And Jungian psychology also played a massive part in our approach to our form of theistic Satanism. that we were living with, because really what I was worshiping was the idea of the shadow and the golden shadow and death. These like different concepts to me were who I was seeing as angels and different things, but really it's the concept that matters. It's the idea, the essence underlying that matters with all of these different things. And it was a way of healing myself. It was a form of self-healing, through a form of exposure therapy. And whether you want to call it like fighting demons, which is another way of looking at it, fighting personal demons and integrating or freeing or letting go of, or you want to see it as exposure therapy, where you're facing fears instead of demons, or you're facing the darker parts of yourself and overcome and learning to accept what you can change, and then changing what you can change slowly but surely. But I reached at a certain point, where I and my alters, who are a part of me and are a part of our system, because we have DID, dissociative identity disorder, which essentially in our case means that instead of being one mind, one body, we're 10 people, one body. Which I know that sounds impossible and crazy, but it is like a documented disorder in the DSM-5. Every culture they have sought it. They have found people with plurality, because, as strange as it may sound, a part of being human and a part of human history is plurality. It's just covered up and not really talked about, and most of us are accused of being insane people and whatever else, but there have always been people who were not just one thing, but felt that they were multiple things. And that, in my case, can be seen through the psychological lens of DID, or through the non-disability lens of plurality, that's more the combining term, because that can also be psychological. But the spiritual term I would personally be okay with would be like sort of, it's not the same. So like, it is possession in my opinion, but it's like pieces of yourself are possessing yourself. It's not some external thing, even though it can feel that way. And we did used to think it was that, but it's actually that parts of yourself when you're young break apart because of an abusive environment or whatever's going on. And one mind can't handle what's happening to the child. And so what happens is, you literally get different minds to store the different pieces that the one mind cannot alone cope with. And then usually what happens is, in your 20s, you start to realize that, oh, I'm actually not one person, I'm multiple people, and it can be really fucking scary. But anyway, a part of our natural process with our magic led to us realizing and discovering we have DID. But because for us, our disabilities are directly tied to our experience of both psychology and our spirituality, because they're all connected for us. But what I was going to say is, I traveled on the left-hand path to a point where both me, Max, and my alters, the other people who I share this body with, stabilized to an extent where the goal was healing. The goal was like wholeness, right? Was like reconnecting with ourself and with the universe. And the thing is, I feel like we've reached that. Like, I feel like we've reached a point where we've traveled down like every different thing, where we've learned all these colors, all these archetypes, all these whatever. And we've reached a point where both me and my alters are now stabilized, whereas before some of them were more like buggy or glitchy, or were, in Lewis's case, frankly, they were severely wounded, and under their old name, which I won't say, they were very, like, they felt bloody. Like, when they were near me, it felt like their pain was so deep, like they were like bleeding everywhere all the time. And the clothing that they used to wear, that I felt like they were wearing anyway, I felt like they were using their mask that they would have, but also the clothing they would wear, which was a straight down the middle sort of like robe with red and blue. with red on one side, blue on the other side, and their mask was sort of like a happy smile and then a sad smile, and the sad smile was in darkness and the happy smile was in white, and that appearance I felt like was a mask to cover up the underlying trauma and pain that they were experiencing. And at a certain point, I realized that this person who had terrified me more than anything, who had been my personal Satan, like literally, in my opinion, like that's how I saw them, and I believed they were this evil, horrible, like like just demon, really. And then I realized that underneath all of this, like underneath first the facade they were wearing with their like robe and their mask, they were severely fucking wounded. But underneath those wounds, they were two children, literally two children who were damaged. Just two lost, broken, hurting fucking children. And I thought Lewis was evil, especially before they changed their name and who they used to be to me. I thought they were evil because they would tell me like horrific evil shit. And then I realized they're a part of me. They're a fucking part of me. Like that is me. That thing I was talking to is me. It's a part of me. It's a different person who is me. It's not like some fucking separate thing in the universe that was haunting me. The reason it didn't matter how many wards or whatever shit I would do, that these things were always able to come back to me, is because they were me. Because they are me. They're a part of me. They're just the other ones. And the trauma that we experienced in our childhood is what made Lewis bloodied and destructive. And at a certain point, they started to open up. And they changed their name to Lewis. They stopped using the former pronouns that they were using and told me that they actually prefer they, them, that feels more accurate to them. And they started talking to me, and they never treated me the way they were for a long time ever again. This force had been telling me, like, that was a part of me. That was a part of my own shadow, really. That used to tell me, like, I'm not going to say it out loud, but just very bad things. And they stopped. They never talked to me that way ever again. And now when we talk, they're still really depressed. They're holding a lot of pain for both of us because they're a part of me. And I understand that now, but they're stabilized. They're not like bleeding everywhere. Their wounds have scarred, where they're able to start healing now. And even though they're still really depressed and they're still processing a lot of crap, they're not actively destructive to me anymore. And I don't even see them as a demon anymore. I really don't. I see them as like an archon or an angel. And that's how I see them now. Whereas before I saw them more as like firmly, like more like a Satan or a demon. But now I see them as like an angel or an archon, which is the labels they prefer now. And we reached a point where we're stabilized, where the different pieces of my own personal Sephiroth and Qlipoth are stabilized to a point where we feel whole, where we're still struggling. We still have complex post-traumatic stress disorder, but we're whole. We feel whole. And you would think that doing all this fucking work as a magician, reaching that point, that we would just, I don't know, like we thought we would finally be able to connect with other people. We thought that once we reached this point, we would know where we belong in the universe, and we would be connected with other humans around us. But what we found is instead sort of a harder truth, which is that because of our disabilities and differences, we were never accepted by the people that we grew up around, and we won't be. There is no way to make people who have chosen to believe in something harmful respect you and love you in the way you need. You can't. No amount of magic can make other people. You can't do it. Like it doesn't work that way, is essentially what we've discovered. You can't force other people to love you. You can't force a narcissist to stop being a narcissist. And they have to be ready and willing to change. Just like the part of ourself that was hurting us more than anything, that person had to be ready to open up before they could start healing, and before the blood could stop flowing everywhere and they could start to like scar and heal. And we've reached a point where we feel whole, yet we feel depressed because we feel like we've reached the end of the goal we set for ourselves when we became a wizard. And we're not using a lot of the labels we used to. Instead of saying theistic Satanist, we're not saying that anymore. We're saying shadow wizard, because that seems to be more understood, since our form of theistic Satanism was heavily inspired by a bunch of different things, but especially like Jungian psychology, and also Gnosticism, and Kabbalah, like Jewish Kabbalah, and angel, and working with angels and demons directly. And unfortunately, because we could not find really any other theistic Satanists, and it just became way too confusing and we got tired of having to explain ourselves. So we just say shadow wizard, because that seems to be more understood, and it's fairly similar anyways, and it is what we are now. So it's just, I felt like connecting back to like source, or like connecting with myself, becoming whole. I thought it would just sort of like magically, I don't know, like give me all the answers. Like I feel like I am connected with all the things that used to be my God. They're just like my family members now, like literally. And so it's like, I thought that, I guess it would just like that, like when you reach the end of whatever path you've set, like I don't know what I thought, but what I thought was wrong. And what I've realized is that I was searching, and I was spending all of this time in the midst of healing myself and truly doing that work, which I needed to do, which I did need to do, that has freed me in so many ways, and I'm so thankful for that. Don't get me wrong. But I realized in the process this year, I've been searching for God and for answers and for divinity, essentially, for a long time outside of myself. Or even when I realized consciously that it was a part of me, that these things were a part of me, and in my case, connected to my DID, and autism, and other things. Because I actually feel like my developmental differences are spiritual for me as much as they are psychological and mental and genetic, whatever else. But I felt I was searching for God outside of myself, and still am. Like parts of me still are. But then I realized, and it wasn't really until recently, that there is no higher reality than the here and now. There is no, like these things are real. I'm not saying that, like, if you're praying or you're have faith, that's not important. I think all of these things can be really beautiful things. But I realized that searching for a path and following like all these different things and trying to limit myself as a chaos mage and a shadow mage to pre-established like ways of belief was, instead of helping me connect with divinity, driving me further away from it into deeper the web of confusion. And what I'm being shown right now is that, yeah, you are depressed because you've had to fucking do a lot of fucking work and unpack a lot of fucking shit, and that's hard. And what you need now is to focus on the here and now. And it's strange because in a way I feel like this was stuff that I was kind of being shown at the start. That when I became theistic, because I used to be an atheist, that I realized that it doesn't really matter what's real as long as it's lifting you up, then we can make our own realities, was sort of like one of the things that like led me to chaos magic in the first place. And yet I still tried to narrow myself by all these different things. I still fell and fucking got into really destructive bad cults and shit, like 3 different cult ideologies, because when I was really early in it, I fell for like escapism stuff like manifestation and like the shifters ideology and all of that is so fucking toxic and dangerous. But it was because I was just starting out and I didn't fucking know. And then the second thing with like being a theistic Satanist, unfortunately, when that was no longer serving me, I held on to it way longer than I should have because it was comforting and empowering, and I didn't want to lose that label. And it wasn't until realizing that we really did not fit in with any other Satanists that we were able to be like, okay, it's time. It's time to let this label go. It's time to accept that we don't fit in here. And that's okay. And we don't have to fit in here to continue on our magical journey moving forward. This was a necessary part of our path from the start, but it's no longer necessary. And so we let that label go. And then the third cult we fell for, theistic Satanism isn't exactly a cult, but it's more just that, like, it wasn't right for us anymore. And the form of it became too extreme for us to continue to be healthy and engage with. And then the third thing that was actually definitely a cult ideology was that we were part of a sun-worshipping cult, an in-person sun-worshipping cult where the leaders were our friends who we didn't recognize the red signs, who were talking about how they were going to like start a commune and like feed people and all this other stuff that at the time I was like, yeah, this sounds really good. This sounds like fighting capitalism. This sounds like bringing people together and like helping people. And then I realized that all this like love and light and all this stuff that was on it, frankly, like the opposite of my craft to begin with, but I didn't care because I loved them. I loved those people and I trusted them. So I trusted their faith and I trusted their God. And then I realized that the same rules they were teaching us and claiming to live by, they were breaking behind closed doors. And that completely turned me off to the entire thing. And the moment I realized that and how that affected me and my partner, who I live with, who was also in this cult, we got out of there right away, like fully. And it was really fucking stressful because we trusted these people. We loved them. We believed in them. We believed in their message and cause. And so realizing that it was all another illusion that I had to let go of, and still very recently have let go of, because that was fucking last month, November, has been really fucking stressful. It's all been necessary. It's like, I don't know how to explain this, but it's like the stuff that's happening has sounded or been more intense, but it's actually way fucking better than everything, literally everything that happened before. Like, I know it sounds like I'm sharing this as like, wow, all this stuff sounds fucking horrible. And it has been, but it's been like what I said, like exposure therapy, where I'm able to handle it now, where I'm able to face it now and let go of it and move on from it. Whereas like, if this shit had happened to my dead self, it would be so completely devastating that like, it would just completely fuck them up and over for like a lot longer. And it's still fucking traumatizing, but it's like all of these things I've lost, I had to lose. And I'm realizing that now because they were so completely destructive and unhealthy for me that if they had stayed in my life, it was only going to weigh me down. It was only going to hurt me. There was nothing I could do to change these things. I had to just make the choice to get out of them. And or do whatever I can to take care of myself and respect myself. And I guess I'm at a point now in my craft where I feel like I've gone through all the first like steps, like all the things that are like the basic things you need to perform good magic, to speak to spirits, to speak to gods, to like connect yourself to these greater things beyond. I've done all that shit now within this year. And I've realized that it's time to stop trying to narrow my path. It's time to stop trying to connect with other people through like all these different, like, frankly, destructive things that are not going to help me, and instead start building my own path. Because really, this first year has laid and built the foundation. And the foundation is self-love and hope, is finding something that no matter what they fucking take away from you, no matter how badly they hurt you and fuck you over and fuck you up, they can't take it. They can't take it away. And it doesn't have to be faith. It can be something else, hypothetically. But for me, it was finding my system, my altars, my psychological altars. And it was finding these different like archetypes and things that affect my system. My former gods, and still sort of gods, but more not exactly like worshiping them anymore, because the purpose of that is no longer as strong, and we mostly just try and empower ourselves now. But my former gods were like the concept of like shadow itself is like how I would put it in English without like the like esoteric flair over it. Like the concept of shadow itself, the concept of light itself, and balancing these, and like the balance of that, and healing shadows. What heals shadows? That concept, what heals shadows, was my god. And now it's like, I feel like I've sort of become that. I am the thing that heals my own shadows. I am the thing that heals my death. I am the thing that heals these people who are a part of me. And so I've made myself sort of a god now, or an angel, or a devil, or all of it. And I've reached a point where I have the foundation. The foundation is in place. And instead of like following all these different paths now that I have what was important from each, it's time to start just following my own and focusing on the here and now. It's time to start, even if that, you know, like, because here's the thing is like, I might not always be a wizard. I might, you know, in 4 years be someone completely fucking different, even just as Max, not including my altars. Like, I don't know where my altars are going to be in 4 years, like how they're going to change, how I'm going to change. In the last 3 years alone, literally everything that defined me doesn't exist anymore. So fucking anything could happen. And I guess I just want to say that, like, it's okay to struggle with faith and identity and all this other shit that people pretend you're supposed to just fucking know, that our society pretends is supposed to be easy, but it's not for everyone, and that's okay. And some of us have to work really, really hard to find happiness and self-fulfillment and peace in a very chaotic, violent, and confusing world. And that's okay, because you're trying. All right, you're fucking trying, which is more than most people do. No, because like everyone, you know, thinks and believes they're trying. You're seeing results, like palpable, countable, noticeable changes in your life from the work you're doing that you can point to and be like, I did that. I fucking did that for myself to help me heal. And that's enough. And I'm proud of you, and I'm proud of myself. And whether or not I continue to be a mage now that I've reached this strange new place where I'm not on the left-hand path anymore, and I'm not on the right either, and I don't really know where the fuck I am, it's okay. It's okay. And you'll get there.